Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Trust Factor, the podcast that guarantees your success when you implement its divine age-old teachings. Welcome to another of our interview series. Very, very excited for this one, my friends. Lots to learn. We have a very important guest. We have somebody who is not just a friend, but also campus director and community liaison for Olami, Aish Toronto. This is a person who's at the front lines. This is a person who deals with the next generation, the people who are going to be our leaders in the future. And he's into their heads. He understands their concerns, and he's often there with his team, inspiring them and giving them amazing resources to be able to get through and to come out on top, to combat the craziness in the world. And their world, believe you me, is a crazy place, and it has been for the last 2 years. He's on the front lines right there with them. And without any further ado, Rabbi Shlomo Blackman, welcome to the podcast, Rabbi Shlomo.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Thanks for having me on today.
Oh, it's our pleasure. I'm very much looking forward to this. It's been a while since you and I have connected, but I know that we've had many opportunities in the past. You've invited me out to a lot of the events that you used to put together and that I see you still do. And oftentimes at those events, we're talking to people who are in their teens, in their 20s, university students or graduates, people trying to figure out their direction in life, or maybe they've just picked up a career. And I think I'd love to be able to focus some of this conversation on what you see as the challenges and the strengths that are in the next generation, the up and coming generation that's going to be our leaders in the future. Let's talk about Bitachon and what you see when it comes to trust in God and their creator. Is it a challenge? Do you think that it's getting easier? Do you see that this generation is connecting back to the creator? Give us some insight.
Sure. Fully loaded question over there. So I'll tell you, this is, it's really skyrocketed. We started at Aish Toronto about 10 years ago. And just even though over the past 2 years, since October 7th, it really, people have really been challenged, and the whole world has been challenged, but specifically university students, who are out there on the campuses at York and U of T and TMU and, abroad we're on 6 campuses and dealing with about 1,000 students, young professionals. They're being challenged by the friends that they thought were their friends and by the professors and by the world saying who are you? What are you? And really they're being challenged on their Jewish identity and really having to look inside. But I would say it's actually skyrocketed over the past 2 years. People have really pushed, in regards to Bitachon, right, which is faith, really been looking inside and outside and been thriving through it. People have really come out, people like we've never seen before.
That's unbelievable. It's not surprising because I've heard other people witness in the industry, in rabbis and kiruv. I've heard people talk about how there are a lot of people who've come out of the woodworking since October the 7th. And a lot of people I know are trying to get back to their Judaism. So many people have been completely disconnected. And, I remember reading a post from somebody who lives in Northern Ontario and was married to a non-Jew and was never really connected to her religion and didn't identify as a Jew really particularly. And then suddenly had this burning desire to connect back to Jews in Toronto because where she lived, there was nobody. And it surprised her how much desire she suddenly wanted to connect back to her roots. So it doesn't surprise me that you see that. Is there an inspirational story? Is there an idea about students who've, finally made this connection back or are strengthening and are finding strength and support in religion, in God to help them get through this? What are some of the mechanisms that they're putting in place to help them cope and move forward?
Sure. We have tons of stories, but just, I'll take one. A guy named David Gurov. He's actually from Germany originally, and he was coming here as a student studying at U of T. And he was not a religious kid, grew up in Germany, was in Berlin for a while. And didn't wear a kippah, didn't really, was connected, knew he was Jewish. But when he came here, he felt very lonely. And he came actually right before October 7th. and we connected. He came to one of our events. We have a lot of events throughout the city, and he came out and we connected. And right after October 7th, he said, Rabbi, like, I want to go deeper. Like, this is like, I've always been, a little bit quieter and I haven't been pushing for, in regards to Judaism, but like, they're coming against us in Israel and on the universities. Remember, by all the encampments that they had at U of T, he actually, like, we started learning together, and he came to our leadership program and he joined our executive board. And thank God, with time, he actually got so strong. He's like, I'm going to put on a kippah specifically. Like, you're trying to shut me down. I'm going to put on a kippah in your face, in front of all you. He actually started a really to be able to fight for Israel and to fight anti-Semitism on campus, united against anti-Semitism. And he actually started a whole club, and it's across all of the GTA right now. And it really came from his inner faith and really looking inside and trying to be the token Jew to be able to go out there and do something about it, not just know about it, but actually do something about it.
Wow. I got shivers. I mean, it's unbelievable because, historically, and, it's such a hard conversation because Jews historically were not fighters. Maybe certain parts of our history in certain times, thousands of years ago, we had small sects of us that were fighters, that were warriors, and so our approach as Jews is always to be able to bring light into the world and to be able to educate and to be able to uplift and do all these wonderful things. And so when you put a sword in a Jew's hand, he almost doesn't know what to do with it. So when you hear that this next generation is now stepping up and pushing back and fighting the negative narrative, it's so inspiring. And so, was it TMU that was just in the news about this Israeli soldier that pushed out all these protesters?
Yeah, sure. That's, and our students are there. We're really on all the campuses where, we actually are, I'm the rabbi for AEPI at TMU and York and U of T. So TMU, they're all part of our leadership program right now. And like, they're the ones who are there. They were there with and part of the whole craziness, but this is what they're being put up against. They're being challenged, but instead of going down, they're fighting the fight, and they're actually going out there proudly, instead of going down, they're putting out their Magen David necklaces and just showing the Jewish pride and not keeping quiet.
It's unbelievable. I can't imagine the challenge that, just feeling like you're constantly under attack just for being who you are. How much of the response do you think these kids are calling them kids? They're not really kids. I mean, just the way that they're responding to this takes them out of that bracket altogether. But these individuals, how much of it is, this is my identity, this is how I was born, and I'm going to fight you on it? Now, how much do you think that they're connecting this back to a God and creator and having a relationship with their creator and knowing that everything is perfect and knowing they've got Hashem at their back? Is that part of the conversation, or is it just, I'm Jewish, Israel's our homeland, and we're going to fight to maintain that?
Great question. So it's really on both ends. It's really across the spectrum. Like I said, we have, we have every, people coming from all different angles. But just to give you a little snapshot of this, we just took an Israel mission, this past summer in May. We were there, and in June, we were there during June, when we hit Iran and the whole Iran war, we got stuck there. But we brought about 60 students and 85 people in total. We brought community members, our mentorship trip, and a third of them, 20 kids, stayed over in yeshiva and seminary. Like kids that are secular kids, kids that were not really connected before, but they wanted to go deeper. They saw they're the ones who are fighting on the campuses and, out there in the workforce and stepping on for Israel. But at the same time, they want to go deeper. They're actually looking for more depth, and they're going to yeshiva to be able to actually connect themselves to that, to be able to give themselves, a stronger foundation to be able to know what we're fighting for and what it's all about.
Wow. So you're saying they actually went on this trip and then they spent time after the trip or went back to go to yeshiva?
Correct. Yeah. They literally stayed, people are still there now, but over 20 of them stayed to study longer, to be able to stay in Aish and Har Sameach and Aspire and Avei, just to really, they tasted it. They saw the authenticity, and They wanted that opportunity.
Right. That's unbelievable. I mean, it's just amazing, amazing stories. I'd love to be able to get into these heads of these individuals and figure out how does this whole challenge, this whole conflict. I mean, we know, you and I know that there is obviously a silver lining, that the state of Israel and the state of the Jews that are living in Israel and the division that was there before October 7th, the left versus the right, and the wedge that was driven between us, and there was so much conflict. And now we're seeing how everybody's coming together, like we've been talking just now about so many different instances, whether they're young or old, of people who are coming back and supporting each other and making these efforts. And so it's really, really heartwarming, and it's amazing to hear. How about you, from your perspective? You're hearing about this, you're inspiring them, you're engaged in their life, you can see firsthand. How does it affect you? I mean, is this something that just naturally is a bitachon boost for you?
Listen, when I work on it every single day, to be honest with you. Bitachon it's a hard thing, right? Life goes on and there's always different challenges and opportunities, as I call them, that come up. And it's all about really focusing on it. Always trying to focus on Bitachon. I learn, Shar Bitachon. I try to learn it for a few minutes every single day, really to give myself the motivation to be able to keep on going and seeing the positive and realizing who's really making all these things happen at the end of the day and trying to give it over to anyone that I'm in contact with throughout the day.
Yeah, it's amazing. We had Rabbi Mandel on, Elisha Mandel. He was mentioning something very interesting, that the important thing is that you're reading it, as you just said, you're reading it every day, and you're reading it with people that are involved in your life. So you're sharing these ideas with your spouse and with your children and with the people who surround you, your community members, because this concept of having faith, of having trust in your creator, is, we know it's a muscle like everything else. You need to work on it and you need to build it. And it takes a lot of time and energy, and it takes a lot of experience. You have to experience God. You have to experience him in the challenging times in order to build your trust in your creator. So I love that you mentioned that you learn it on a daily basis. You take a snippet of it. I do that because of the podcast, but if I didn't do that because of the podcast, I'd want to do that outside of it as well. It's like a manual. It's like I said, it's a muscle, and it's constantly growing. Where's your bitachon today versus where it was, let's say, 10 years ago? You've been doing this for about 10 years. Is that right?
Yeah, we've been in here, working in Toronto, and have the best job in the world, getting to connect with all, 18 to 32 year olds. I feel very, very blessed. And I feel like every single day is it's a growth. It's like I said, I try to spend 10 minutes a day, just practical, try to make it very, practical and put it into my own life. But thank God, I realized without doing it, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I'm, thank God, a lot further than I was 10 years ago. And I still have a way to go, right? Like my Rabbi Elephant always says, like, if you're done, you're in the grave. You always got to be going up. Right. Going in one direction. So that's, thank God I'm where I'm at, and I'm hoping to keep on growing on it, because there's always new opportunities.
There's no question. This is something that we have to do until the day we die. You're constantly working yourself, because as we go and as we grow, life changes, and we're faced with new challenges and new situations that we've never faced before. And even as much as we've been working on our bitachon, we come into a new scenario that's unfamiliar to us, and it's challenging. And again, we have to rebuild that muscle, so to speak. What do you see among students? I don't think it's going to be much different, but in general, with regards to adults, the longer you're in this world and the longer you've become accustomed to certain ways of living and ideologies, it becomes more and more difficult to change and to grow. What do you find with these students, with the people that you interact with daily, is a character trait that is the one that stops certain individuals from building that relationship? Do you find that there are similarities between certain individuals that are just not growing, that you could kind of tie back to saying, maybe this is a stumbling block, maybe this is something that gets in their way of growing and building that relationship with Hashem?
Sure. I mean, most of the people we're dealing with are, come from secular backgrounds. It is very foreign to them, God, and realizing that someone's actually calling the shots and we're not in control of everything, even though sometimes we fake it like we are, and we try to do everything we could 6 days a week, right? But then we got to realize that like the seventh day is real, and Shabbos is all about realizing that Hashem is really the one who's making it all happen. But for many of them, it is foreign, and it's really like bringing in, I think like over the last few years, it's gotten easier, meaning people are actually realizing like we're not in control. And as much as we try to fit in and try to, do what they do and eat what they eat and right. And all that, they realize that we're not the same. Like you just say, and they'll remind us of that. The rest of the world is, but it's definitely a work in progress. Students are definitely challenged with this. It doesn't come easily, but I think they're doing a lot more inner, looking inside themselves, really realizing that something's got to change over here. The world is not where we were just a few years ago. So, but they're definitely doing the work, and we're not all there yet. We have 32,000 students that just in the GTA, Jewish students in our age demographic. So we're getting to, over 1,000 of them, but there's still many of them that we're not tapping into yet. So it's definitely a challenge, and hopefully we're taking one at a time.
Right. Yeah. The work is never going to end, really. I mean, because everyone that graduates and moves on, it's going to get replaced by, the young up and comers who are now entering into that realm. And now they've got to deal with all these similar challenges. And you've got to be there. And these organizations need to be there as a soft landing to be able to show them that, hey, we're here and we're going to support you and we're going to help you get through this.
Correct.
Right. Now, I've mentioned in the past that I've obviously spent a lot of time, many years, whether it's with Aish, Olami, NCSY, different wonderful organizations, trying to inspire that younger generation. And I've mentioned often that I've found, and I don't know if you found this, but I've found in the parents listening who have teenage children or kids in their 20s that also may have realized this, or maybe not. Maybe it's just me. That, in my opinion, this generation has a real challenge with making decisions, committing to something and moving forward. It's almost like they're scared that if they make a bad choice, if they choose wrong, whether it's a career choice, whether it's a subject matter that they're going to pick up in university, whether it's relationships and dating and getting married, it feels to me like they're so paralyzed with fear that they don't want to make a decision in the fear that it's going to be a bad one and they won't be able to recover from that. Do you get any sense of that, or is it just me?
100%. People are non-committal today. People really are, it's one of the biggest things. I mean, we speak to hundreds of students, and that's the world, it's like even the phone companies now, right? Don't commit, just do month by month. It's the whole world on that one. But we really try, like when we're sitting with them, really coaching them through it, we're trying to empower them to show them that you got to make decisions. That's what makes us big, right? That's what makes you grow. And, sometimes it's okay to fall, but you just got to embrace it and really look inside and see what's the real, right, what makes sense right now where you're at. And, but they definitely are having these challenges, and we're trying to help them through it. But 100%, that's flip-flopping and not wanting to commit is definitely a tremendous, challenge in this generation that we're dealing with.
And it ties back to Bitachon in such a direct way, because at the end of the day, if somebody knows that God runs this world and everything is perfect and that nothing is coincidence and that your parnasa, your income is determined Rosh Hashanah, and it almost doesn't matter what you do for a living, as long as you show up and you give that effort, you make that reasonable effort, right? That God decided for you who your mate is going to be. And as long as you make that effort, then things are going to work out. I mean, it's really a direct line back to Bitachon. When somebody has worked enough on their trust in God and their relationship, then making decisions becomes that much easier. Would you agree?
100%. And when you realize that, you said it so well. Like that we got to put in our shtadlus. We got to, try, and we got to show up. We can't just sit back and not do anything. But if we actually are doing what we got to do, whatever is possible for us to do, and realizing Bitachon is that Hashem is He's behind it all, and He wants us to succeed more than anyone. So it's really, and to go with that. I love how you said it.
And just to finish with this, are you, if you're being honest, and we're talking to an audience over here of either people in the category that you deal with or their parents, how much of what we just said, this concept of tying it back to God, let's try and put it on a scale. If 100% is obviously that they're thinking about this and they're connected to it and they love this idea and they're ready and willing to learn, and obviously 0 is that they subscribe to themselves. Everything starts and stops with them, right? And they're responsible not just for starts and stops, but also for outcomes. Where did the vast majority fit? If you had to put a number, where's the majority sitting?
Good question.
Is that a hard question?
It is, because there are so many people that are growing and so many people that are going deeper. But I would say we're still at about the 50-50 line right now. Wow. Meaning so many people have really gotten, are so much more inspired and are really, Bitachon is bringing them. There's also a lot of fear out there. People are really feeling like nervous about outcomes, about school, about could I show my Jewish identity? Who am I? What am I? What's going to be? We're at a 50-50 zone right now. And that's why I really say it's really crucial. This is like my Rebbe, the Rashiva of Berkowitz, and just spoke to him this morning. And he really said this is like a small window of opportunity that we've had, over the past 2 years. And it's still open right now. People are making their decisions of what they're going to do for the next, from this inspiration or this challenge about what it means to be a Jew today and where we're going to actually put our trust or not put our trust. And this is why it's so important right now, more than ever, to inspire these kids, to inspire the parents, inspire, right, this opportunity to give them the tools to be able to thrive, but I would say we're at 50-50. We have lots of people that are getting involved and, and we have about 10, 15 programs throughout the whole Olami Aish world right now that we're running here, on a weekly basis. But there's to actually get Bitachon and get them to actually believe and show them where it's all coming from. It's going amazing. Thank God we're servicing them, but there's so much more to do. Bezrat Hashem. We're not done at all. We're just getting started, as I say, and I'm excited for this opportunity.
It seems like we're always just getting started, which I think is a good thing because, like we just said, people are up and coming. They're working their way up into life and into the system and into post-secondary and starting to figure out life. So the work will never end. We're always going to have what to do, but I think we're living in a secular society at the end of the day. We're combating secular ideals. And so to be able to be even at 50-50, given what we're up against, I think is a spectacular number. And like you said, we're always working on it. So that number's always going to go up. Rabbi Shlomo Blackman, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. We've been trying to get you on here for a little while and it finally worked. Thank you again for taking your time and sharing your wisdom.
My pleasure. It's always a pleasure. And Jesse, you're always the favorite when you come in to speak for our, for our young professionals. We'd love to have you back soon because you're a superstar.
Okay. Don't forget me. You got my number.
I'm not forgetting.
Okay. All right. Have an amazing day, Rabbi.
You too.
That was Rabbi Shlomo Blackman. You guys got now where I was going with this. This is an individual who has his finger on the pulse. This is somebody who runs so many amazing programs for the next generation. If you want to learn more, you can reach out to him. I'm happy to give you his contact information. Please reach out to me if you want to support him or the organizations, Olami, Aish Toronto, all the amazing work that they're doing on the campuses. Guys, you've heard what they're dealing with. You see the videos. You know that these students are on the front line and they're being challenged every single day in ways that most of us can't even begin to understand. Having said that, we're going into Shabbat. It's going to be an amazing one. Let this podcast be something that you can ruminate over, that you can think about how to get involved. You can now have an appreciation over this Shabbat. Share it with your family and your loved ones about what it is that's going on campuses and how, thank God, we've got tens of thousands of students being supported by these wonderful organizations. Have an amazing Shabbat, my friends. We'll pick up on Sunday.